So Emmanuel Abiodun, a cryptocurrency enthusiast, joins me from California, USA, to talk about this, which has been trending for quite some time. Good morning to you, Emmanuel. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on the program. Now, Bitcoin is one development gaining grounds globally. As at January, we heard that it's been in existence for about 8 years. Talk to us about the size of this particular market.
Bitcoin is a volatile market, to say the least. I think the market capital of the whole currency right now stands at above $10 billion, which is sizable for something that started about 9 years ago and was launched by a bunch of computer programmers. It's had a turbulent history where you had a massive rise to $1,000 in 2013, only to see a massive collapse in early 2014 as a result of a single point of failure being one notable exchange called MTGOX. It's seen a resurgence again as we're seeing prices have touched above the $1,000 mark of recent, which is why it's making the news.
Yeah, but then also the reason why it's making news is because as of yesterday, there was reports across most of the major markets. Bloomberg, for instance, reported that there had been a dramatic drop. Talk to us about what's actually going on. Is this, well, a flash in the pan, or is it something to worry about based on the fact that Bitcoin seems to be the new gold, or the new oil, if you'd like to call it that?
Certainly. I mean, one thing you can look at is in 2015, Bloomberg also ran a story talking about Greece, with the banks being shut down and ATMs not being available to people, that the Greeks were looking to buy Bitcoin hand over fist. So it is something that people, when they feel their currency is at threat, that, you know, dissidents start to look directly into as an option or as an alternative. Bitcoin is right now very heavily driven by the Chinese market. If you look at where the mass majority of the coins are mined, which is the mass majority of the Bitcoin miners come from, it's over 60 to 70% of them are in China. And that's rather interesting because you find that there's a lot of capital controls in China. Bitcoin is a tool for people to potentially evade those capital controls and have an alternative way of maybe storing value and transferring value across the world, unhinged by government or political forces. It is making the news again as a result of that as well. I mean, if you look at the gains that it's had rapidly over the last three months, you'll see that as soon as Bitcoin makes very bold moves, you have a lot of sell orders, especially coming from the Chinese market. It's an asset that's traded 24/7, so it's not like the standard equities market that open and close. It's constantly trading, irrespective of the time zone. So I'm not surprised to see another $50 to $100 drop overnight, and I think we're right now sitting at $950 Bitcoin.
But then, Emmanuel, you will agree that there's a little bit of concern that in spite of the fact that it seems to be having a revolution of some sort, a lot of people are skeptical that this might be another new way to evade tax, for instance, or money laundering.
Absolutely. I think that is a genuine concern. I mean, if you look at historically, what we've noticed in regards to the Silk Road phenomenon, where people are buying Bitcoin and using it as an untraceable way to pay for illicit goods online. It's certainly a tool for that. But you know, the argument from some of the guys in the Bitcoin community is that you could do the same thing with cash. Cash is intrinsically untraceable. Bitcoin is pseudonymous and traceable. So you can really see a transaction history of where things have gone. So if I send a Bitcoin to you and the address that I have is made public to a government official, it's possible to trace those coins and the genesis and also where those coins reside. Whereas you can't do that with cash. So while it is true that it's a tool that could be used for illicit means, it doesn't mean that it's exclusively used for those means. You could still make the same arguments for cash or any other type of assets.
But then let's bring it closer home now. For Nigerians who, most of them have actually been playing in this particular market, have bought into the Bitcoin revolution. Do you think that the Nigerian market is really ready for it, based on the fact that we seem to still have issues with regards foreign exchange and, the currency issues do?
Absolutely. I mean, with the massive spreads in the parallel and official markets of the naira, we're seeing a high number of Nigerians requesting information for Bitcoin. Not only that, but they are actually already been transacting in terms of buying Bitcoin. They're using agents who are based in the US, based in the UK, based in China as means to acquire that currency, and they're paying, 20%, sometimes even higher in terms of fees to actually get their hands on Bitcoin. So it is happening, but it's not happening at a large scale yet. But you're finding that, Nigerians are doing a very similar thing to the Greeks, where they're doing their own research online, they're doing their own research and looking at what the news is saying and looking for other ways to store value. They've seen a massive depreciation in their own currency and looking for other ways to maybe get currency out, but at the same time looking for other ways to protect the wealth that they have. Now, Bitcoin is a very small currency to do that right now. As I said, it's only $10 billion in value. But over time, you can see, for something that started with a value of zero to where it is today, there is a lot of pace behind it. As I said, it's not just Nigeria. The same thing in Ghana. We're constantly getting calls from people in Ghana, Nigeria, even South Africa, on potential ways to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin faces a challenge in Nigeria specifically with respects to, as I said, the spreads in the parallel and official rates. But at the same time, without a functioning exchange, it's almost impossible for people to do larger transactions to buy Bitcoin or to acquire Bitcoin.
So this is one way you think will actually improve the financial inclusion drive of most economies, including Nigeria's?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at digital wallets, for example, digital wallets dwarf bank accounts in Africa by a large amount. So digital wallets are a massive way to drive financial inclusion. Bitcoin is essentially held by a digital wallet. It's another means to do that. We've seen people give money to charities in Bitcoin. People have donated in Bitcoin. I can send Bitcoin to anybody anywhere in the world without having any kind of government or agent in the middle. So there is a massive opportunity. This is why, I firmly believe that we should be cautious of Bitcoin from a central bank perspective, but at the same time, we can't stifle or kill innovation. We need to look at ways in how we can use this tool to drive inclusion for those who are underserved. And Bitcoin could certainly do that. I think before people want to start putting a stop or halt to transactions, do what the Americans have done in trying to bring regulation to maybe police it somewhat, but at the same time, help startups, help companies understand and be more educated on how they could use that as a tool. It could actually drive growth.
But Emmanuel, remember that just before I started this conversation, I talked about the global financial crisis of 2008, 2009. It was a major bubble that affected everyone globally, whether big business or a small business. Now, you would, of course, understand the reason why most of the regulators, including central banks, are very concerned about the evolution of the Bitcoin and where it's actually going. Because it's electronic in nature. You deal electronically. And sometimes most of this are vulnerable to hacking. So who protects the investor from a situation where you have your wallet hacked?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you only have to look at the $500 million that was lost by a prominent exchange in the recent I believe $60 million lost by another exchange. So there are issues in regards to security, and that's more to do with human error. And I think the technology is actually there that could help people in protecting their wallets or protecting their coins. You can liken email to Bitcoin. If you lose a password to your email, somebody can post to be you and email somebody else or gather information from your account. Bitcoin being just alike. If somebody gained access to your private key for your Bitcoin, they have access to your Bitcoin and can transact on your behalf. So there does need to be guidelines. There does need to be standards that need to be developed in terms of protecting consumers. For example, if I do a transaction with my Visa card today, if money gets stolen or somebody uses my card illegally, then I'm guaranteed almost by my bank to receive the funds back. Bitcoin doesn't have such a guarantee, as I said, because it's decentralized. There is no police. So there has to be regulation that is there that is going to help consumers, and that's the only way you're going to see growth as well. You need to protect consumers, protect their interests, but at the same time, you need to come up with ways to allow customers or consumers to transact with it, learn how it works, just like the Chinese are doing, just like the Americans and the UK and the UK are doing. Do not, do not try and be protectionist in stopping Bitcoin from gaining traction in the country.
So, in other words, this isn't because, as I already mentioned, central bankers are not particularly happy about this, especially since it's a segment of the market that they cannot regulate and oversight. And so, to try to encourage more people to actually get into this idea, who should be doing the educating? You, enthusiasts like you. What are you doing to let people understand what the advantages and the disadvantages are of being part of the digital currency revolution?
Absolutely. I mean, the things that I'm doing personally in starting my own blog and trying to help Nigerians understand personally how to get involved in digital currency and how to stay safe in the crypto world. At the same time, central banks and government agencies can be better educated by maybe connecting with other countries who are more advanced further down the line in the blockchain space. What the US did, for example, I did some consulting for the US New York Financial Services Department in helping them educate them on how the mining process works and how to keep wallets safe and how the transactions actually occur. They should start maybe connecting with some of these agencies abroad who have already made headways in regulating Bitcoin or understanding Bitcoin. So that can give them a massive head start so they don't make the same mistakes that other people have made. Additionally, I do believe the Bitcoin community does have a massive opportunity to increase the profile or improve the profile of the currency and gain wider adoption. I think some of the things that could be done is easier documentation for the layman to understand. I think right now is very, very geeky, very technical. It's not very interesting for the average guy to get his hands onto, but that needs to be simplified. And I think government can go a long way to helping that happen. I mean, Bitcoin's not just the only digital currencies. There are over 100 digital currencies that have launched since the advent of Bitcoin. So there is a growth there, and there is something interesting happening there. Banks, for example, are investing millions and millions of dollars into the technology, not because they want to buy Bitcoin, but because they see the technology as a way to reducing operational costs, but at the same time reducing fraud. So that's why the U.S. government themselves are increasingly trying to gain more knowledge in how the underlying technology behind Bitcoin could better aid them curb illicit flow of funds, at the same time provide security for user data.
All right, so, Emmanuel Abiodun, thank you so much for your time this morning and, of course, your perspective on the Bitcoin conversation. Emmanuel Abiodun is a cryptocurrency enthusiast weighing in on the Bitcoin conversation that I know will continue in the days to come.